Imagine waking up one day with the unsettling feeling that everything you've lived so far has been just a rehearsal, a play you didn't write, with costumes you didn't choose. Strange, right? What if I told you that the life you think you're living hasn't truly begun yet? Many people spend years believing they are who they show to others, living for others' expectations, and forgetting to look inward. But there is a path to discover a deeper reality, a self that hasn't yet been explored, and it can transform everything you thought was fixed. Here's the paradox. While everyone says be yourself, society teaches us to hide fears, desires and parts of ourselves deemed wrong. This creates a life full of masks and illusions, where true freedom feels distant. The good news? You don't have to live this way anymore. There are inner signs, small alerts your own psyche sends showing that the moment to truly start your life is near. Recognizing these signals is the first step to escaping the illusion. And here comes the controversial part. Most people never notice this on their own because we're trained to look outward instead of inward. But you can be different. This video will show step by step how to awaken to who you really are, understand your shadows, and integrate hidden inner forces. The reward is immediate, feeling like you finally have control over your life, no longer just reacting, but consciously creating each moment. What's even more fascinating is that this transformation isn't just theoretical. It shows up in daily choices, in relationships, in the courage to face the unknown, and in the freedom to express yourself authentically. Every insight is a key. Every recognition of yourself is a small rebirth. Jung gives us the tools to see that the self we know so far is only the surface, and the true self is waiting to be discovered. So, if you feel ready to stop rehearsing someone else's life and finally begin your own journey, stay with me. Because the truth is simple and radical. Your real life hasn't even started yet, but it's about to reveal itself before your eyes. From an early age, we learn to wear a kind of disguise. The child who dares to be spontaneous, dancing awkwardly or telling a funny story, soon realizes not everyone applauds it. A disapproving look, a sarcastic laugh, or a simple, "That's not how you do it," teaches that showing certain parts of yourself can be risky. This is when the mask is born, a carefully rehearsed role designed to meet others' expectations. Gradually, the individual drifts away from their true self. Over time, this mask feels so natural that it almost seems like our real face. People get used to smiling when they don't want to, agreeing when they disagree, staying silent when something inside is screaming to be expressed. It's like an actor who never leaves the stage, even after the curtains close. Paradoxically, while the mask protects, it also suffocates. It shields us from criticism, but steals authenticity. Wearing it feels like putting on a heavy coat in the heat. It keeps out a cold that may not even be there. We all carry memories of moments when we were genuine, only to be told we were too much or inappropriate. Who hasn't held back a funny comment fearing judgment, or stopped sharing an idea because someone might criticize it? These small silent lessons create internal cracks over time. Slowly, the person learns that hiding feels safer than showing. Spontaneity gets boxed away, like old memories tucked into a dusty attic. It's curious how society applauds talks about authenticity, but punishes those who actually try it. It's a painful paradox. The world says be yourself, but immediately expects that self to fit within acceptable limits. That's why so many live divided between who they really are and who they've learned to be. The mask strengthens as a shield against old wounds, yet the more polished and strong it becomes, the further we drift from our true selves. This mask, while necessary at times, comes with a cost. Some days it feels unbearable, like being trapped behind glass, watching life pass by without really touching it. At that point, one question becomes inevitable. If this mask protects, what is it hiding from me? And here is where we start moving toward a deeper layer of the human psyche. Behind the carefully crafted mask lies what we prefer not to show, the shadow. It's not some external monster, but an inner space where we place everything we consider unacceptable. Fear of appearing weak, desires we dare not admit, anger we suppress to avoid disappointing others, all of it gets pushed into a dark corner of the mind, like a closet where we hide messes before guests arrive. But hiding it doesn't make it disappear. It just stays out of sight. What's fascinating is how the shadow often reveals itself through others. When someone triggers an intense irritation in us, it often reflects something we reject in ourselves. It's like looking into a distorted mirror and blaming the image. For example, someone who despises arrogance in others might struggle with their own need to assert themselves, and someone irritated by another's vulnerability might actually be avoiding their own fragility. This mechanism is known as projection, and it's tricky. We point the finger outward without noticing that 3 fingers are pointing back at us. So it's like blaming the mirror for what it shows. Many people spend their lives fighting traits in others that are part of themselves. The more we resist these inner parts, the more they find ways to surface. Like water seeping through cracks, the shadow always finds a way to emerge. But here's the revelation. The shadow isn't the enemy. It holds essential pieces of our wholeness. Inside it lie forgotten talents, repressed passions, and even the strength we need to face challenges. Fear, when acknowledged, can reveal courage. Anger, when embraced, becomes transformative energy. And even our deepest suppressed desires can uncover genuine needs of the soul. The key isn't to fight the shadow, but to engage with it. Those who dare to shine light on this inner space begin discovering treasures buried within. It's an uncomfortable process, no doubt, but also freeing. After all, the shadow only dissolves when we stop running from it and start integrating it. And it's at this point that a bigger shift begins. The possibility of uniting what the mask hides with what the shadow reveals. This is where Jung's idea of individuation starts. When the mask of the persona meets the weight of the shadow, an unavoidable invitation appears. The invitation to reconcile with oneself. Jung called this process individuation, a journey not aimed at perfection but at integration. It's not about eliminating weaknesses or creating an idealized version of yourself, but about accepting that light and shadow walk together. Imagine someone paralyzed by fear of rejection. Instead of fighting that fear, individuation teaches them to recognize it as a legitimate part of their journey. One of the biggest obstacles along this path is self-sabotage. How many times has someone been on the verge of taking a major step, only to create excuses or get lost in distractions? Social media, endless TV shows, or overworking are modern masks hiding an inner emptiness. Individuation calls for honest reflection. It's not just asking, what do I want in life? But what inside me is afraid to live this life? This deep dive breaks the cycle of repetition. Dreams become invaluable guides in this process. While the conscious mind insists on keeping up appearances, the unconscious expresses itself through symbols, metaphors, and narratives that reveal hidden truths. An endless staircase, for instance, may symbolize feeling stuck despite effort. A threatening animal might represent repressed forces demanding attention. Paying attention to these signs is like receiving secret letters from your inner self, invitations to understand what the conscious mind hasn't yet grasped. Childhood wounds are perhaps the most important maps on this journey. Many adult reactions are rooted in early experiences. A child criticized for speaking in public grows into an adult afraid to express themselves. A teenager who felt invisible develops compulsions to seek attention. Adult life becomes a stage where we act out childhood dramas. Only by facing these scars can we reinterpret them, turning pain into learning and weakness into strength. Individuation is, therefore, a path without shortcuts. Each step requires courage to look inward and humility to accept that we are not only light, yet it is precisely in meeting the whole self that true freedom emerges, stopping the performance for others and no longer running from the shadow. And when this process begins, something greater appears. Universal patterns that belong not only to the individual, but to all of humanity. When a person begins to integrate their shadow and persona, they realize they are not alone on their journey. Jung shows us the collective unconscious, a reservoir of experiences and images shared across humanity. Within this space reside archetypes, universal patterns that guide behavior, dreams, and choices. It's as if the psyche is an ancient library, filled with books every human carries even without reading them. Understanding these symbols connects personal history with the larger story of humanity. One of the most well-known archetypes is the hero, whose strength emerges only when facing their own shadow monster. Think of someone who dreams of starting a business, but sabotages themselves out of fear of failure. The hero inside only emerges by confronting these fears, facing challenges, and persevering through pain. True courage isn't the absence of fear, but action despite it. Every obstacle becomes a mirror reflecting the need for inner growth. Beyond the hero, There are internal forces Jung called anima and animus, the feminine and masculine energies present in everyone. Integrating these forces means balancing sensitivity and assertiveness, intuition and logic, receptivity and action. For instance, a man who never allows vulnerability loses creativity and empathy. A woman who suppresses assertiveness struggles to realize her goals. Recognizing these inner energies allows for a more harmonious life, where choices reflect maturity and alignment with the true self. Archetypes appear in dreams, stories, myths, and even everyday relationships. An authoritarian boss may embody the critical father. A loyal friend may reflect the inner wise guide. The key is realizing these figures are not just external, they are mirrors showing what still needs integration. Identifying these patterns brings awareness to automatic, repetitive choices, creating space to act intentionally. It's like learning to read your own life in a universal symbolic language. When we learn to dialogue with these archetypes, a new power emerges. The awareness that we are part of something bigger, and our personal experiences echo ancient stories. Integrating these forces not only brings inner balance but reveals internal resources previously out of reach. This is when a person begins to see life not just as survival or adaptation, but as deep evolution. And waking up to this understanding naturally leads us to the next truth, the illusion of a fixed self. Throughout life, we believe we are a solid, consistent, unchanging self. The ego convinces us that every choice, every personality trait permanently defines who we are. But Jung warns us, the self is just a role, a mask we wear to interact with the world. It's like putting on clothes that feel like skin, when in reality, they're accessories that change with the situation. Recognizing this is the first step toward breaking free from the rigidity that traps us. This illusion makes us resist change and cling to labels. I'm shy, I'm anxious, I'm just like this. Yet identity is fluid, constantly evolving. Those who embrace this truth realize that every experience and challenge is an opportunity to reinvent themselves. It's like walking along a river. The water is never the same, but the flow continues. The key is learning to move with the current rather than against it, letting the true self gradually emerge. Practical steps can help in this awakening. Letting go of labels means observing patterns without judgment, questioning deep-seated beliefs, and listening to the unconscious through dreams, meditation, or introspection. Trying new perspectives, like starting a hobby that seems out of character, is a powerful exercise. Even small routine changes, like taking a different route to work or changing how you communicate, can reveal forgotten parts of yourself. Life becomes a laboratory for self-discovery. Embracing the unknown is essential. The ego seeks safety in the predictable, but growth lies in the unexpected. Allowing yourself to feel vulnerable, to explore new experiences, and to listen to inner impulses once considered strange, brings freedom. In this space, real life begins to flourish because every step is guided not by masks or external expectations, but by deep authenticity. Fear of losing oneself gives way to the excitement of discovering who you really are. The final message is clear. Real life begins when we stop clinging to who we thought we were. Every label, every internal or external judgment, is an invitation to let go of old certainties and make room for the new. This journey of constant transformation connects us with our truest selves. Those who accept that the self is fluid realize the story is still being written, and each chapter can be completely different from the one before. Now that you've started seeing beyond the masks and the shadow, the question is, what are you going to do with this knowledge? Every insight Jung offers is an invitation to act, to stop repeating old patterns and finally take control of your own life. Think of the small changes that can transform everything. Noticing your reactions, listening to suppressed desires, paying attention to signals from your unconscious. Each step is a chance to get closer to your true self and live with more intensity and purpose. If you feel afraid of facing the hidden parts of yourself, know that this fear is exactly where transformation begins. It's there in confronting what you avoid that freedom resides. Try questioning your labels, challenging limiting beliefs, and experimenting with new ways of acting, feeling, and connecting. Ask yourself, if I were no longer the person I thought I was, who could I become? The answer might surprise and liberate you now. Imagine the opportunities that arise when you allow yourself to live without clinging to a fixed self. Every choice stops being automatic and becomes conscious creation. You shape your life instead of being shaped by it. The best part? This process never ends. There will always be something new to integrate, something that was hidden and is now ready to emerge. This is the journey of self-discovery in motion day by day. So I challenge you to reflect, what masks are you still wearing? Which shadows do you need to embrace? What limiting beliefs are holding back your real life? Share your thoughts in the comments, because exploring these questions sparks awareness not just in you, but in everyone who reads them. Transformation happens when we think together, when we open space for questions that never stop growing. And if you want to continue this journey, don't forget to subscribe and turn on notifications. Every video is another step toward understanding yourself, integrating your shadow, unlocking your authenticity, and finally starting the life you truly deserve. The journey of discovery is endless, but every step is worth far more than you imagine.